Hi, I'm Janine. This is KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and this is Get the Funk Out. Standing by to join me is director D.W. Thomas. We're going to talk about her debut film, Too Late, which is opening in select theaters and on digital platforms June 25th. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Janine.
I
Glad
have
to
to say, I'm a bit of a chicken. So when I saw this, I was like, maybe not. And then I looked at the cast, and I love this cast, and I watched it, and I loved it.
Oh, good. I know it's definitely not as gory and scary as I think some people might get from the poster. Hopefully not
No, and it's
too much,
funny.
but
It's
and
really
it's
funny.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is what I really wanted to achieve. I grew up on, Gremlins and
Hmm.
Ghostbusters and movies that were like they're fun and they're a little spooky, but they're not existentially terrifying,
Right. Yes, exactly. Now, this is your first film, right?
That's right.
How did you
First feature
decide,
film. Yeah.
first feature, how did you decide to do this? Were you doing shorts? Were you a screenwriter?
Well, I actually started as an editor. And so I've been an editor for about, gosh, 20 odd years. And I I spent so much time making other people's films
Hmm.
work, and I got to a point where I was like, gosh, I want to tell the stories. Like
Yes.
I've worked on a lot of films that are, from a male perspective because a lot of movies are made by men
Right.
and there's nothing wrong with that, but I was like, gosh, I want to tell a story from a female perspective and I want to be more involved in creating it. And also as an editor, I'm always complaining about not having the right footage or not having enough footage. So I
Hmm.
was like, oh, maybe as a director, I can give myself what I would have wanted to have.
I love it. Yeah,
So
I definitely feel like when you're in the trenches, you're working on other people's projects, you get your own ideas, you see what works, what doesn't.
yeah, absolutely. And of course it changes when you end up actually shooting it yourself because there's things like time and sometimes the locations don't quite work the way you want them to. And so I definitely got a better understanding of the side of the director and understanding why sometimes you don't get all of the footage. So
Hmm.
yeah, it was great to see that side since I was always, in the edit room.
Exactly. And when did you do this? Did you do this before the pandemic?
We did. We
Mhm.
actually did it. Let's see. We finished shooting principal photography in July 2019, and then we finished the last ADR recording in February of 2020. So it was right before everything closed down, and they were kind of
Oh,
just talking about it. Yeah. So we
okay.
we really lucked out because we needed to have everybody in the same room for ADR, and
Sorry, I saw
luckily,
my popper coming into the scene.
oh, no
I'm like,
problem.
what is that? See, you got me creeped out. Sorry.
It wasn't Bob, so we're
Yeah, it
lucky.
wasn't Bob. Oh God. So here you were in lockdown editing away.
Yeah, well, I actually finished the editing. So I finished the editing before the lockdown, but we were doing the score and the sound design and the color correction. So we they definitely had a lot of time. We worked with a terrific composer, Michael Hurwitz, who did a really fun score, and so we got to work with him through Zoom and through doing it this way, which was
Amazing.
totally a different experience. Like it would have been
Yeah,
great to be in the room and actually hear it on their system. So that was unfortunate, but I think given this the situation, I think we were pretty lucky.
definitely. Now, what have people said about the film so far? I know it's not officially out, but people have reviewed it a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. People seem to enjoy it, and I think what they enjoy a lot about it is the comedy scene, and it feels authentic, and everybody loves Alyssa. I think Alyssa Limperis
She was
really
great.
carried the film. Yeah, and she, for being her first feature and someone who is more used to the sort of front comedy on Instagram, it was a totally new experience for her, and she really just knocked it out of the park. It was pretty
Amazing.
cool.
Yeah, how did you cast? How did the casting process work?
Yeah, so we wrote the part for Ron. So me and my husband came up with the idea together and we broke the story and we kind of wrote it around Ron Lynch because Tom knew him from stand up. He used to be a stand up comedian, and now he does more just comedy. But uh, we knew that Ron would love to work on something with us, so we sort of wrote it around Ron, and then um, did the casting. We brought in with our casting director, we brought in comedians that have done acting, and that's how we found Alyssa and Jenny and Jack. And then through Ron, he reached out to Fred Armisen on our behalf, as
I
well as
couldn't
Mary
believe when
Lynn
I saw Fred
Rajskub.
was in this. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
it was so cool, and he liked the script, and he was like, "Yeah," he was totally game to come down and be in it, and which was just floored us. We were like, "Oh my gosh, our little film!"
Fred.
Yeah, and he's just so funny, and his whole demeanor. I mean, I you never know when he's not acting, but I think it's just him. He's just
I think
always like
so.
very
Innately
funny,
funny.
and
Yeah.
yeah. So he was terrific, but most everyone else came through casting it that way, and all the stand-up comedians are actual stand-up comedians, and they're people that my husband knew through stand-up, and he gave me a list of like 20 people, and I got to go through and pick my favorite ones. So it was
Nice.
kind of fun to do that, and they were incredibly wonderful to let us use some of their comedy and burn a few of their jokes.
I love it. How did the whole storyline come about?
Well, I really liked the idea of somebody feeding a monster, and it's also a fairy tale. It's very archetypal. You know, you
Hmm.
have the young ingenue kind of having to take care of the monster sort of
Yes.
scenario, and so
Right.
but we thought like, okay, if we're going to set this in the comedy world, because that's a world that we know and that we know we can find a lot of talent in, what is the best kind of monster that could just go unnoticed?
Hmm.
And and it sort of just really fell into place. It was like, yeah, of course. You could probably get away with it. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, of course. I'm not
yeah.
going to give it away.
Because people do come and go,
Yes.
and so
Not that way, but yes, they do.
well, we hope not.
No. Oh my gosh. Tell me, well, I'd like you to describe to the listeners what the film is about.
The film is about an assistant to a big time comedy host who falls in love, and we realize that her main duty as an assistant is to procure comedians for the host to actually consume. So he is a monster living amongst comedians. And throughout the journey, she realizes that she has to escape. She has
Mhm.
to get out of the thumb of this guy, and that's the story. So it's her sort of becoming herself.
It was funny. I watched the first act, I would say, and then I was like, as I told you, I'm a chicken, and I was like, what's going to happen next? I'm not watching this at night. So I watched it during the day, and it was so funny, and it just kind of flowed, and the actors are great. Yeah.
Yeah, they we were really lucky. I think from Paul Danke, he's the first comedian who comes on, and he just has such a great presence. And then him and Jenny Zigrino, they had such good chemistry together.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't want to give anything away,
Yeah.
but
Who was the Boston
and
guy? Who's the Boston guy?
the Boston guy,
Yeah.
yes, that's Billy Breed,
Yeah.
and he was a lot of fun.
He was funny.
He had some stories. He actually got an ear piercing for the role. He's very method, and
Okay.
he went to bars and like kind of creeped on people
Mm-hmm.
as as
Get ready.
research. Yeah. So I hope he didn't get himself in any trouble, but
Oh, that's so funny. And was
he
it
was a lot of
casting all
fun.
done in LA or was most
It was all
everybody
LA.
LA?
Yeah.
Okay. What a great thing to do during the pandemic. Make this film.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely it was the best time to really not have anything else to do, and we could really stay home, and since me and my husband both are producing it and we worked on
Hmm.
it together, we really had no excuse but to just focus on it. And
Perfect.
I think that was positive in a lot of ways. And, you know, I think we were really lucky actually to have the unbroken
And you
time.
still love each other and you work together.
We still love each other and we work together. Yeah. He's great. We got distribution with Gravitas, and they're a terrific company,
Mm.
but they don't do as much for marketing. And so we've really had to learn about the whole marketing side, which is great for indie filmmakers because you
Sure.
kind of go into it not really knowing how that all works, but sort of going, oh, well, once you sell it, then that's it, right? Like then you have your
No.
movie up there, but it really isn't. it's
Yes.
it's a lot of work. And
Yeah.
so it's been a lot of fun kind of figuring it out. And
That's great.
yeah.
Did you do the movie poster before you had finished the film?
No, the movie poster came after, but we did get
Okay.
all of those promotional shots on
Okay.
set. We had a great photographer who came down, William Callan, and he's just so talented. And so he made sure we got all of those professionally looking. And then as soon as I think we made the poster before we started submitting it to festivals. And it was such a weird time because festivals weren't really a thing.
I
And
know. Yeah, they
so
were virtual.
they were virtual. And we we ended up actually getting distribution before we even got into Seattle Film Festival. So it was kind
Oh.
of a, yeah, because we had a sales rep. And so our sales rep was, we talked about, and we were like, well, we could wait until next year when everything opens up again, or we could just take it directly to distributors and see what they say. And we didn't want to hold on it. We didn't want to wait. You know, it was a
Great.
lot of work, and we
Mhm.
wanted to just get it out there.
Get it
And
done and get it out.
yeah,
Yeah.
because you have to move on as well. It's like it's
You
hard to
do.
hold on to something for so
You
long.
do.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so Gravitas came on, and I think the poster happened around then.
Hmm.
But yeah, we had a terrific poster designer, Stephen Caceres,
I
and
love it.
it all really came together nicely.
At first, I'm like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
trailer is great. I put everything on my show blog, which is getthefunkoutshow.kuci.org. What advice would you give to somebody that's sitting in your shoes and they're creative and they've been in this funk, this creative funk during this time?
Oh, that, I mean, I totally feel your pain. It's hard, especially when you don't have a lot of interaction with people. It's hard to kind of
Yeah.
let your creative juices go. Um, I would say just write anything down. You know, just start telling stories, and even if they're
Mhm.
terrible, who knows
Get
what
it out.
comes out. And
Yeah.
then just keep writing. I try to write um as much as I can just in the mornings. And you know, sometimes weird things come out and sometimes nothing comes
Right.
out, but always trying to create something.
Yeah. I was going to say, I wrote some great short scripts during, let's see, last spring, submitted them to Film Freeway, and you never know. You don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many festivals out there, and you can just write a short, 30 pages or whatever it is. And sometimes people will take it, sometimes they don't. You make it better, you rewrite, but it gets you going and you have goals, you know.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And always yeah, reading and watching art films and watching other films that are out there. I think right now is an interesting time because we have the ability to make movies for a lot less than maybe before. And
Yeah.
so anyone can really tell a story. And it's about telling the story that you could potentially shoot yourself. Or because I really do think it's hard to just go out there and sell a script, and it happens. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure it happens all the time, but I think for us, I mean, we knew that the only way we were going to get a movie made is if we made it ourselves, because it's,
Right. Exactly.
everybody has a lot of people have screenplays, and it's showing that you have the passion to actually visualize it as well as
Right.
is important.
I
So
agree. Yeah.
figuring out, and that's why, setting it in the comedy world, in a world that we knew, we were like, okay, yeah, we can make it authentic without, um, you know, going too far out of our comfort zone. I went to film school in Australia, and
Oh,
for some reason, everyone wanted to make a movie about guns. And in Australia, there were no guns. Like, they were outlawed. And so it's kind of like, you want to make it was guns, and then like older people that were not, they're outside of our experience. And so it was so interesting to me in film school, like everybody wanted to make these stories that they had no connection to. And so
yeah,
it always ends up kind of feeling like, oh, I wonder why they wanted to tell this story. So
exactly.
I think telling stories that mean something to you, or that you have this connection to, can be a lot easier to start with, because
Right.
then, yeah,
I think they have to have some kind of meaning to you to get you out of bed and excited in the morning, that you're so
definitely.
passionate about, that you have to make this. You have to write it, you have to make it. And then also, to your point, write things that if someone said to you, I'm going to help you make this film, don't create something that is just impossible or an impossible budget,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I mean, this one was pretty ambitious too, because it was quite a few locations. And usually they say, "Oh, try to come up with an idea that has one or two locations." And we were lucky to find a location that actually supplied, I think, like half of the location. So it was this warehouse downtown, and we
Okay.
were able to get like Bob's apartment, the stage, and the restaurant, and the backstage. We were able to get all of these locations in one place. And so I think
That's
that,
ideal.
yeah, it's totally ideal,
Yeah.
because you're moving fast, and you only have a few takes for each scene. And we had prosthetics, and so we had to, budget our time around having Ron in the chair to get his makeup done. And yeah, yeah.
Do you already have your next project in the works?
I I do. I have the screenplay, and we've sort of started pitching it around. We have the pitch deck, and
Hmm.
it's another story that takes place in LA. It's kind of similar but different. Follows a young woman who gets. Maybe I shouldn't give this
Don't give it
story
away.
away,
No, keep it.
but it's another fun kind of adventure with supernatural elements. I really enjoy the more adventure stories that have a little bit of a
It's great.
scare, but it's more about the adventure or the fantasy, I guess.
It's not a gruesome scare. It's kind of a funny scare in this one.
Yeah,
You know?
it is. I really liked the idea of making Bob a little bit pathetic. Like,
Yeah.
you don't really see the pathetic monsters. I mean, in the
Right.
end, it's just like
He's got issues.
he's got issues, and okay, he eats people. Like, that's his food source. He can't really help himself. So can you feel that bad for him? Like, yeah, it's really Violet is the one that's kind of the monster in a way. So I guess you could really get into psychology with this one, if it's
Her
like
issues are even bigger.
her issues. Yeah, but um, but yeah, but I found that to be something that I wanted to see.
Hmm.
And Ron Lynch is so great as the monster too. You kind of just want to give him a hug, but you're scared of him a little
I
bit.
know, especially in the lighting. I think it was the trailer,
Yeah,
and I thought, this guy is creepy.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, he's got an edge. It's
Hmm.
so funny because Ron Lynch is nothing like that at all. I mean, he's been in the comedy scene for so long that I'm sure he he relates to that character a lot, because that is all around us. And also, I mean, in all of us, I think the desire to succeed and continue succeeding, and especially if you're on top, the kind of expectation to continue with comedy, it's got to be, you could almost become a monster. I guess that's why,
Yeah.
like, big time comedians do kind of become a little bit of monsters themselves. So
Right. Yeah. So where can people find out more about the film?
yeah, so we have Instagram and Twitter at too late the movie dot or at too late the movie, and we have too late the movie.com. Yeah.
All right. And I also put Instagram up here, Too Late the Movie, Twitter, as you said, Facebook, and the website. And there's a trailer on my show blog.
And there's a trailer. Oh, terrific. Thank you so much.